On the menu today, it's Martha Stewart's French toast, triangles, with maple butter. And I'm gonna make my own bread too. I'm just not gonna give up without a fight. Well, welcome to my home, everyone. Hello again. And well, it's gonna be your home for the next little bit too, so please make yourself comfortable. Get over here, Martha. The Martha Stewart Cookbook. Now, when I was flipping through the pages here, I was figuring out what I'm feeling like today. And when I saw this recipe, the French toast triangles with maple butter, I thought, okay, well, this is something I want to make, but maybe not for a video. But then you could make your own bread, pain de mie, French bread. So upon further investigation here, I realized that this is an adaptation of a Julia Child bread recipe from this cookbook, Mastering the Art of French Cooking V2. And I haven't made any of Julia's bread recipes from this book yet, except for the French baguette that I butchered. There's a lot to improve on here. Obviously, you know, do I really have to go over everything that I need to improve on? Anywho, I saw an opportunity here to kind of, you know, as Julia, Martha, and me, French toast, or what they used to call pain perdu, aka lost bread, utilizing stale bread in your house, soaking it in milk and eggs, frying it up. We're not using old, stale bread. We're nothing but as fresh as bread as we can make it today, which is great, you know, listen to Martha. Let's get to work. All right, so we gotta start with the thing that's gonna take the longest here, which is the bread dough. My attempt at Martha Stewart's crack at Julia Child's version of French bread. And I need 4 cups of milk. And that, my friends, needs to become warm. Half a cup of warm water. Open up your yeast packages. I have 3. I should mention that I'm making 2 loaves of bread. Martha thinks it's a good idea, so I kind of agree with that. Just in case one loaf doesn't turn out, I have a backup plan. And, now the water needs to be under 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 99.3. If it's too warm, the yeast may not proof. In go the 3 packs of yeast. So I'm gonna let that proof 5 minutes until it like becomes activates. It's foamy. Okay, so because I had the milk heat up more than 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which is what Martha told me not to do. So I'm gonna let this cool in the fridge until it comes down to the right temp. Can never be too careful. Yeast mixture into the milk. Actually, you know what? You don't need to do that freaking step. Help me out, Silver Fox. Silver Fox. Instead of wasting dish after dish trying to make a loaf of bread, all the liquids can go in here. Get the dough hook attachment on there. So let's just give that a mix to start. Now off to my right, I have 10 cups of all-purpose flour. That's 1,200 grams. 2 to 3 cups at a time. Mix in with the liquid. And then add some more flour until I've reached a sticky dough. Oh, you dumb. I know what I was supposed to do. This is 5 teaspoons of salt. I'm gonna add a bunch in now, say 3 teaspoons in there. It will be fine. And then the rest of the salt I'm gonna add in with the other flour here. Continue adding cups of flour until I've reached a sticky dough. Flour up my surface, and now I gotta turn the dough onto the flour. Look how sticky that is. All that yeast in there, it smells like a brewery. So continue adding the flour until all the flour has been incorporated. And I have to knead this. The rest of the flour. All this flour needs to be in there. Good dough, good dough. Just Just gotta get the dough off your fingers before you move on to the next step. I have softened butter, 12 tablespoons worth, 1.5 sticks, and around a tablespoon at a time, I have to knead it into my dough. I mean, now we can see that this is most definitely a Julia Child recipe. More butter. Martha says it's gonna be slightly sticky, and I would take away the slightly. Instead of using the word sticky, how about greased up, lubed up? I'm deciding to split this dough in half so that one can proof in one bowl, one can proof in the other. 2 different loaves. I hope everyone's okay. This dough can go in there. This dough can go in. This dough I will cover with a towel. Keep an eye on this one, so plastic wrap. This is what's gonna happen. I gotta let this dough rise 2 to 3 hours, get triple in volume. Whoa. Just keep an eye on it. This one can watch like a hawk. This one you can do a little peek. Okay, I don't think there's anything else I have to do right now, so I'm just gonna veg. Well, there's always something to do, right? Around 3 hours later, this dough has plumped up. Look at that plumper. Punch down the dough, and I get to knead this for a few minutes. It still smells like beer. In terms of my kneading here, I'm just kind of lifting part of the dough up and throwing it back down. So I'm gonna cover that back up again, and then I need to let this rise 1 more hour. Almost there. And forget about you. So I have my loaf pan. If this looks familiar to some of you, it's because I used it for the Julia Child salmon Wellington, the coulis biac, and I had inverted it upside down, and then I draped pastry over top of that, and then I made a pastry case. It didn't make a whole lot of sense. So that is around 4 inches high and 13-ish inches long, give or take. And it has a roof to it, so you know the drill, butter it up. The lid as well. You know how much butter is in this bread recipe? Whew, bring over the dough. It basically rose up higher than it did the first time, and this was only rising for like an hour and a half, say. Flour up the surface, then get your dough over here, and then she says to split it in half, but I already did. Flatten the dough into a rectangle shape, the length of the pan, and then get the dough into, that's a perfect fit. Press the dough carefully into the corners of the pan. Ensure that there are no air bubbles in that dough. She's obviously saying bake both loaves at the same time, but since this is kind of my test dough, although I have high hopes for this one, if things go south, we got the backup. Cover the pan with the sliding top, and then I have to let this rise until the dough fills 2/3 of the pan. Yeah, that's like around 2/3 of the way up, right? Yeah. Oven is preheated to 450 degrees F, and I gotta bake this for 30 to 40 minutes to start. Good luck, dough. That's the alarm for 35 minutes in the oven. Turn the oven temperature down to 375 degrees Fahrenheit and continue baking until the loaves are done, 15 to 20 minutes. While we're hanging out, we're gonna make some maple butter. So we have 4 tablespoons, half a stick of unsalted butter, softened. Gonna need a bowl, thank you. And gotta get the syrup. All right, here's the deal. Martha says you need Vermont maple syrup. And as a Canadian, I take offense to that. Like as if. So I have some Canadian maple syrup, shout out, and it's from the province of Quebec, so that's lovely. And I just broke the cap off when I was opening it. Anyway, I'm gonna get off the floor, and in goes a 1/4 cup pure maple syrup from Canada, as well as the softened butter. I should clarify that I don't really care about the maple syrup. I'm sure Vermont maple syrup is just as fantastic. What am I doing? Combine the butter and the syrup in a mixing bowl and blend thoroughly. That does not look like my cup of tea. Maybe a whisk? Okay, well that is that. It's not necessarily I did as Martha said and combined this thoroughly, but it has split to the high heavens. All right, I'm gonna dust off the granny, see if that works. A lot of the time, the issue to the problem of butter splitting is that you just need to add a little more fat. So there's some more room temperature butter. That has no longer split. I'm gonna keep that in the fridge until I'm ready for it, hopefully soon. Okay, so the bread is done in the oven. The bread should have risen to the top of the pan. Crust should be golden brown and So the crust is golden brown and the sides slightly shrunk away from the pan. Totally. If you're in doubt about the doneness of your loaf, I totally think that's done. Turn it out. Okay. And then the loaf should sound hollow. That sounds hollow, so that means we should be good. That looks and smells incredible. I just need to let this cool. All right, so now it's probably been around an hour and some change since you last saw me. We'll get to that shortly. But this dough here, the spare dough, I have this in my bread pan. I'm gonna have this hang out in the fridge and I might bake it tomorrow. If not, I bake it 48 hours from now. That's as far as you wanna push that. And chances are that if you do that, it has a bit of a sourdough flavor to it. Let's go. Before we get to the dough, let's talk about this compound butter, the maple butter. I've had it in the fridge. It's firmed up nicely. I learned this trick in Anti-Chef episode 1. When it comes to compound butter, what you want to do is get it into some plastic wrap, roll that up into a cylinder shape, and when I'm ready for this, I can just slice off a nice round piece, you know? Martha's French toast triangle recipe is for 56 pieces. That seems a tad excessive for this moment, so I'll half it. And I need very thin slices, very thin. Moment of truth. Whoa, that's beautiful. 7 slices should do it. Besides dabbling in the great sourdough baking craze of 2020, I haven't really baked any other breads. So this is one of the first, especially in a loaf pan like that. And it looks like this is that easy. So, okay, so I was reading the recipe and I was kind of confused at first because she's like, you just need oil, but she doesn't really clarify how much. But then if you keep reading, she's like, drain the French toast on paper towels. Why would you need to drain it on paper towels if you're just making French? Like, I've never done that before. So I was confused. I went online and I found a recent video of Martha making French toast, and she was essentially like deep frying it. I guess that's how she makes her French toast. It caused quite the uproar online. Everyone's like, what the hell are you doing, Martha? But it looked good, so we're not watching her figure with this video, let me tell you that. It doesn't specify in the book how much oil you should be using, but online it says around 6 tablespoons worth.
One more task you have to do.
I'm gonna follow closer to that video I just saw, so there's gonna be a little more oil added to basically cover the French toast. Get that up to 360 degrees F. And we got more things to do. In my little thing here, I'm gonna add in 150 milliliters of milk. Spill a little too. 2 eggs. Half a tablespoon of sugar. 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. Okay, party time. Cognac. I need 2 tablespoons of this. So I'm using Hennessy. Party time. The orange rind from half an orange. Whisk. Whoa, man. Whisk. Yeah, it's just me here, so 2 tablespoons of sugar, 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. I'm deciding to slice up some strawberries. Totally my idea. Why don't you half your slices? 380 degrees Fahrenheit. I think that should do. She says 360. 367. Okay, sorry. Soak the bread in this milk combo here with the cognac and all the other stuff. Okay, I'm not gonna be able to talk. 2 minutes per side. I'm making French toast triangles. I forgot. Triangles. Why the hell am I making French toast triangles? These look great. But that's what I promised at the beginning of the video, so I shall continue making this triangular. Apparently Martha's not really a crust girl when it comes to these French toast triangles. And then you gotta half it, and then you gotta half those. And then each slice of bread will create 4 triangles. Why am I doing this? I'm not really sure. That's what the recipe said, and I am following the recipe. We can just dunk those all in our little thing here. Julia Child nor Martha Stewart, crust girls. Two minutes per side. Looking for a golden brown. I mean, really nice, right? But I gotta make them triangles. That's the rules. Now you sprinkle with the cinnamon sugar. These can go here. I have no idea. I don't know what I'm doing. Serve immediately with the maple butter. How much maple butter? I guess just enough to make it count. Strawberries next. It's just like, yeah, it needs the strawberries. I think it needs a little pop of color. How about some icing sugar? Martha doesn't call for it, but it needs something, you know? This is starting to look like something I would eat. Order up! Triangles, show me what you got. I didn't think the maple butter thing was gonna give me what I wanted out of this, so I had the syrup on standby. But now that it has melted and everything is just kind of commingling in here, damn. I taste the butter and the syrup and the sugar and the bread, and then all of a sudden the cognac, I'm like, oh right, I added that too. Something that you don't want to have every day, or like every week, or just like on special occasions, around the holidays, on a breakfast smorgasbord buffet kind of style, you take a couple pieces of your French toast triangles. Does anyone know what the CNE is? It's the Canadian National Exhibition. It takes place in Toronto, Canada at the end of the summer every single year. It is like a carnival, a fair. There's rides there, you know, Ferris wheels and games and funnel cakes and cotton candy and deep fried Mars bars. Do you know what a Mars bar is? Think like a Snickers bar, minus the nuts. It's just like the nougat. Is it nougat? I don't know. Anyways, Mars bars are delicious. You should find them. Off topic. They should sell this next to all of that in its own separate stall, the French toast triangles with the maple butter. It seems like a very Canadian thing. I feel like you could just serve this in a cone and you have it soaked in the maple butter with a little icing sugar on top. My idea, throw in the strawberries if you'd like, optional, and you just walk around the fairgrounds having a great time. Woohoo, end of summer. This is delicious. And I have a bit of a sugar rush / kind of a headache because I ate way too much of this, but it is fantastic. Okay, well, I'm gonna get going, so it's good to see ya. This is Jamie and Martha. Bon appetit. Au revoir. See you later. I'm just not gonna give up without a fight.